This approach that you're talking about works really well for helping us resolve some of the supposed contradictions in the Bible, and so it can be viewed as a way of resolving potential problems, and to show like, hey, it's actually not the problem that you think it is. This was an intentional thing here, and it's meant to communicate such and such truth. But I want to actually focus on the sort of more positive side of it, because on one side it's negative, responding to problems. But then there's the positive side of it. For instance, just really understanding and appreciating the beauty of what that gospel author was trying to communicate. So, what I'd like to ask you is maybe for an example or two of, as you have looked into this and you've seen, like, oh, that's what Luke was trying to communicate. That's what John was trying to communicate. Not so much to resolve a problem, but as you were just diving into the truth they were conveying through their, for lack of a better word, manipulation of a few of the details. Like, what's some of the beautiful truth that you've discerned through this way of interpreting?
Well, I mentioned too in Matthew, his genealogy plus the location of the feeding of the 5,000. I mentioned the day and time of Jesus' crucifixion, that I think John was trying to emphasize there, that Jesus is the burnt sacrifice for our sins, and he is our Passover lamb. But some of these aren't for artistic purposes. They're things that you and I do in our everyday, ordinary conversations. In fact, the way I like to describe it is, and any married person, every married person will be able to understand this, and that is there's a difference between how the guy version of the story and the girl version of the story. Now, for the most part, women like details, and lots of them. And of course, I'm stereotyping here. There are many exceptions to the rule. But for the most part, women like details. They want to know what happened, where it happened, when it happened, why it happened, how it happened, who was there, what they were doing, what they were saying, what they were thinking, and how they were feeling. And then they want to know how you feel about it. Guys are different. We like bullet points, get to the bottom line. The game's coming on in 5 minutes. So we don't have any problems when we're talking to a friend on the phone and tell him, maybe something that happened that day, and we will bend the details a little bit so that we don't have to talk about background knowledge for 10 minutes so that it's totally comprehensible what we're saying. We just want to give them the gist. And our wives are in the background and they're saying, it didn't happen that way. You forgot to mention this and this and this, and he didn't do it here. He did it here. And we're thinking, I'm not trying to deceive him. He doesn't want to hear all these things. So I think generally speaking, if we apply this to the Gospels, Mark gives us the girl version of the story. Matthew gives us the guy version of the story. And we see this over and over and over in Matthew. So let me just give you one example. Jesus cleansing the temple and cursing the fig tree. So in Mark's gospel, Jesus rides in on Palm Sunday, goes into the temple. It's late in the day, so he looks around, he leaves. He and his disciples go to Bethany. They spend the night there. Monday morning, they get up. They're headed back to Jerusalem. Jesus is hungry. He sees a fig tree. There are no figs on it, so he curses it. They go into the temple complex. He sees stuff going on in the temple he doesn't approve of, and so he cleanses the temple, kicking out the money changers and the merchants. That's Monday. Then they leave the temple. That evening, they go back. They spend the night again in Bethany. Tuesday morning, they get up. They're headed back to Jerusalem, and Jesus they see the fig tree, and Peter says, "Lord, the tree that you cursed has withered and died." That's Mark, girl version. Matthew gives us the guy version. You've got Jesus rides in on Palm Sunday. He goes into the temple. Matthew then conflates the two temple appearances, the one on Sunday and Monday. Jesus cleanses the temple on Palm Sunday. Then they leave. They go back. They spend the night in Bethany. Monday morning, he gets up. They see the fig tree, nothing on it. He curses it. And Matthew says, immediately it withers and dies. So he's given us the guy version of the story. He's just abbreviating. He's not trying to get into all the details. And again, Matthew does this over and over and over with those different stories in his Gospels. So this is a pattern he's doing. So if you want to know more of like what actually occurred, what you would have seen had you been there, read Mark. But in most cases, but if you want to know, if you just want to get the gist of it, but be able to read more stories, because Matthew can fit in more stories because he's got more space now, well, then read Matthew. So, yeah, I forgot the original question, but that'd be probably most of my answer to it.
No, that's good. That answers it well, I think. Guys, we're right at time on the show. Thing. Oh, okay, go ahead.
Can I just, one more thing. You said another benefit of looking at things this way. Another benefit is, so you not only have the theological benefit, you not only have the fact that they're doing a lot of the same things that you and I do in our ordinary, everyday conversations, but guess what, folks? This takes away the number one objection that most skeptics give to the reliability of the Gospels, and that's contradictions. Because if what I'm saying is true here, it's not a contradiction. These weren't sloppy historians. It's not a contradiction. It's a compositional device that's in play here.